Power delivery is borderline frightening. It's like a 765 LT McLaren without the turbo lag. It really hits. I'm standing in front of the Ferrari 296 GTB, the latest in Ferrari's lineup of mid-engine V8 supercars, except this one's got a V6. And depending on how you look at it, this is either the first Ferrari V6 or the second. Ferrari did sell a car called the Dino 206 and this one right here, the 246 GT. But that was technically a subsidiary brand, which in itself had been a racing brand named after Enzo Ferrari's deceased son. Dino's never donned Ferrari badges because Ferraris were meant to be 12 cylinders and anything less was effectively a junior Ferrari, thus Dino. But the Dino 206 and 246 laid the foundation for all future mid-engine Ferraris to come. Because once the 246 ended production and out came the Dino 208 and 308 with the 8 cylinders, mid-mounted, midway into production cycles, they were officially called Ferraris, ending the Dino name in 1976. The Dino is the reason why the 308, 328, 348, 355, 360, 430, 458, 488, and the F8 all existed, down to how they're even named. And speaking of names, the 296 refers to the 2.99 six-cylinder engine, and GTB being Gran Turismo Berlinetta. So yeah, this is actually a 3-liter V6, and perhaps calling this a 306 would have been confusing, maybe not aggressive sounding. Anyway, driving the 296, power 819 horsepower, 654 from the Piccolo V6 or Piccolo V12, 145 from the electric motor out back. This is a purely rear-wheel drive vehicle. Power delivery, we're gonna find out, but I've driven this car before. Power delivery is borderline frightening. It's like it's like a 765 LT McLaren without the turbo lag. It really hits. You touch the throttle in any gear and there's so much power, it's just instantaneous, and a lot of it's really due to the assistance from that rear motor. I find myself not having to downshift. There's an immense amount of confidence in how the engine and the motor combination, how they perform together. It really is seamless. Quarter mile, it will be easily in the 9s. Trap speeds will probably be in the mid 140s, possibly even touching 150. This car is really quick. Now you might notice I'm bouncing around a little bit here. This is a particularly rough road that I'm driving over, but this car is also equipped with the Assetto Fiorano package, which is the track pack essentially in Ferrari terms. It's a $40,000 package. I'm not so sure I'd spec my car personally with this. I like a little bit more adjustability. I like the option of having a comfort mode when I'm just driving around, not trying to rip around a local road. And I like the option of having a kind of in-between, a sport mode and then a track pack or track mode. And this is, again, this is a really bumpy road here, but it just shows you what this suspension is all about. It's really track focused. Most people are not going to track their 296 GTB, but if you are one of those people that will, I do encourage you to buy this and spec your car with the Fiorano package. Really, the power is really brutal. It's amazing. I'm almost lost for words at how fast this car is. I've thought that my McLaren, my 570, was fast, and then I thought my buddy 675 LT was fast, and I thought a 720 was fast. This is kind of another rung up the ladder. This is, again, it's more like a 765 LT without the turbo lag. And I think that's a great way of putting it. I'd love to see the two cars kind of face to face in a drag somewhere. Maybe Drag Times will do it one of these days. The other thing that's really surprises me the most is the sound of the car. It's actually a really, really pleasant sound. It's a 3-liter V6. Ferrari has coined it the Piccolo V12, and that's not a DBZ reference. That has nothing to do with Dragon Ball Z. The Piccolo V12 means it's a baby V12, or that it sounds like a baby V12. And it does. There's some similarity. I wouldn't quite call it as, it's not quite there. It's not quite as high pitched, but it does have a really nice sound. The best part of the noise, though, is you really get to hear the turbos, the blow-off valve, and the wastegates. They almost sound aftermarket. There's a lot of whooshing and a lot of chirping going on. It sounds really, really cool. Really cool. It's right there in the back, right behind you. Just over your shoulder. Yeah, you love that. I love that. The induction noise is really apparent. Especially if you've got the windows down. You really should be driving this car with the windows down. I think it's just got a terrific sound overall. It's not quite like a naturally aspirated V12, because nothing can beat a naturally aspirated V12. And as far as trying to mimic one, this comes pretty close. You're not going to confuse it for a V12, but you can understand what Ferrari was trying to achieve here and how they engineered the car to sound and what they were doing as far as the extra little auxiliary noises that are coming from the back of this car. Moving on to the interior. This is a really great place to be in. Ferrari interiors have usually been dated from the moment they were released. This car, much like the SF90, is a different story. The interior is composed largely of controls, all located on the steering wheel, which functions as the hub of controlling the car. The wheel is made up mostly of touch-sensitive sensors replacing physical buttons. You have the wipers over here, and you have the headlights over here, which are still buttons, and the turn signals still function as buttons as well, but everything else has been replaced by sensors. You have these little knobs that control the beautiful high-res display and infotainment. Ferrari's replaced functions such as mirror adjustments with a touchpad, located over here. And even the start engine button has been replaced, right over here, with a sensor. And while I'm okay with other buttons being replaced, I feel like replacing this particular button has taken away some of the emotion of firing up a supercar. The Manatino switch is still present. It's now illuminated. The HVAC controls are touch sensitive as well, which is a bit distracting considering their location. It's a bit of a stretch to get to it. There's definitely a learning curve here, but altogether I do enjoy sitting in the cabin. I love the seats, and the visibility is amazing. And my favorite part, this little homage to the gated shifter, is the cherry on top. So it sounds good, it's stupid fast, and it has heritage. So what are the downsides? Well, this particular car is equipped with Seto Fiorano, as I had mentioned on the drive. On these Florida roads, you can more than likely get away with driving a hardcore track car, such as this, but this is surprisingly jarring and harsh. $40,000 for a track suspension is a bit torturous, and around here we have a lot of areas with brick roads that'll shatter a spinal disc or two in a car like this. Unless you plan on tracking your car competitively, keep the 40,000 and get the standard suspension. Even though this track pack may handle like it's on rails, and it really does, really. The everyday driver will be hard-pressed to feel the difference. So as it is now, I wouldn't spec my car personally like this. The other downside is the somewhat pedestrian look, at least to me. Driving this car did get an absurd amount of attention, but then again, it is wearing yellow lipstick, and it is a Ferrari. But it does seem to be missing some aggression. I'd imagine a Speciale version would fix that, though I have to say I do like the rear end of this car, minus the yellow, and I do like the front of this car as well. I think it is an overall attractive package, but like I said, the profile I think is what really gets me. I think there's a bit of a 308, 328 throwback to the profile, but as a result of that, it's a bit too smooth. It seems to be lacking some of the aggression that most recent Ferraris have had, including the F8 and the 488. 296 allocations are largely gone for the near future, but if I were to spec one, I'd probably keep it on the lower end, as close to base as possible. Pick the right exterior color, pick the right leather, and enjoy the main event, which would be the engine and Ferrari's unrivaled suspension tuning. Here's a standard 296 GTB without the Assetto Fiorano package, and as you can see, the front splitters are different. And no lipstick over here, nothing down here. And I just think overall, it looks better for it. And again, as I had mentioned, I really like the front and rear end of the car, especially without the decals and the lipstick and all that stuff and all the extra bits of color. I'm sure there's some color combos that are gonna look better. But overall, really good looking car. Again, a bit soft maybe in the profile, but it's still a Ferrari. And so is that.